Hello, this is Ryan Singer. I'm going to do a mini intro on this experience just because I tried using a new software and the first 5 or so minutes of the interview was just Echo City because of the software used. It was a remote interview. So I was using new software that recorded the audio on both ends. It did not work the way I was hoping. So we lost the first few minutes of the interview where I was kind of introing my guest. So I'd like to do that now. The following interview is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those things where I felt really great after having the conversation. I love when I talk to people who, are serious about their work yet have a great sense of humor about what they do. And Chris Kehler is one of those people. He is a holistic practitioner that uses psychic energy to find the root of health problems within your body, and then he will use sacred geometry, such as pyramid energy, to eliminate the energy of the problem. He also does live blood cell analysis, foot bath detox, and hair mineral analysis. If you go to, I believe it is chriskehler.net, let me make sure, and that's Kehler, chriskehler.net. There are some cool products there. I'm actually wearing one of the products currently on my left wrist, which is one of the wristbands. It's the Brain Function Enhancer. You're supposed to wear it on your left wrist, apparently, for optimum results. I got this in the mail from Chris a few days back when I returned from my 2-week tour, and I've been wearing it ever since, and I love it. I'm having fun wearing it. If nothing else, I'm having fun wearing it. So this was a really great talk. We get into a lot of things, and I hope, and we actually have another interview already on the book scheduled for very soon. So I look forward to bringing you another one, Chris, from our great northern neighbors in Canada. So I hope you enjoy it, and just a real quick, just a little bit more about Chris before we get in, because I think we covered some of this. He uses a unique system of dowsing and is able to pinpoint the root problem causing your health issue within a relatively short period of time. For example, this is an example they give on the website. If you have asthma, the system will find what is causing your asthma, be it a virus, parasite, negative energy, etc. Once the problem area is found, and the cause, they use crystalline energy tools such as pyramids, like I said already, to neutralize the cause or stressor. In most cases, the client can feel a difference by the end of the session, or up to 24 to 48-hour period. Keep in mind that very chronic cases may take longer and more sessions to see a result. Now, there are testimonials also on the website available, so if you want to check that out, you can check that out and just click on the testimonials tab. So I'm just giving you that intro because as you're going to hear in just a moment, the conversation just kind of picks up as we're already going. So my apologies to that, for that, I should say. My prepositions just don't know. They don't have a home anymore. Different prepositions are just trying to find their way into different situations. Maybe they've got they got cabin fever. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. Even if you enjoy it half as much as I enjoyed doing it, I think you're really going to like it. So I hope you're having a great day, and let's just pick up with my conversation with Chris Kehler, ladies and gentlemen. It's the morning. My coffee's kicking in. I don't have to keep doing this. Here we go. Chris Kehler. Let's get to it. Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe.
Here I am in a holistic healthcare center in Winnipeg, Manitoba, working on people all over the world via Skype and the telephone. There's no borders when it comes to working with quantum energy. And today, for instance, I had worked on 3 people in the United Kingdom, lots of people in California, and basically all over the world. It's something that works, very passionate about, and it's helping humanity, actually helping to find the health problem that we're all plagued with on a daily basis that the medical community just can't seem to find.
It is interesting because I do have a lot of friends and people. I seem to come in contact with people who have, I don't know if they're called immune disorders or what. I can't believe it's escaping me right now. The people who have kind of like these mystery illnesses that can't
autoimmune.
be. Yes, autoimmune disorders, and these people, they get in there and they just get really run through the ringer because they're tested for everything, for lupus. They're tested all kinds of blood tests, and it's just constant. And the doctors just seem baffled over and over and over again. So this seems like a real opportunity potentially for people to kind of, finally put their finger on it, I guess, so to speak, when it comes to trying to get healthy again.
The term autoimmune basically refers to the fact that your body is fighting itself. Your immune system is kicking in and it's doing harm to your body. When in fact what is happening is all of the quantum possibilities within us, such as entities, spiritual attachments, dark energy, aliens and ET, multidimensional types of things, when they are within your body and they are present, your body says, hey, something is here. That's not supposed to be. Let's go kick its ass. That's what the body does. And our immune system is not outfitted to do that. So we need to look outside of this realm into the quantum realm and know how to manipulate energies and to change energies within our body so that they leave or the frequency of them is gone. And that's basically what I do on a daily basis, is just neutralize frequencies.
Wow. That sounds, a lot of this is going to be, I guess you could say over my head technically in certain aspects. But I am very interested to know what it was like in your early childhood that maybe, was there anything that planted a seed for you to then later become fascinated? Like, what kind of kid were you?
I was very independent as a kid. I would do a lot of things on my own and be quite happy with it. When I look back where I am right now, and I look back to, say, when I was in my early teens, I realized that I've been helping people, particularly my family, my mother, my father, my late wife's parents. All these different people had really bad health problems, and I was kind of always there helping them out, making sure they're okay, doing things for them. How many people died in my arms before this all started? It's amazing what has happened since the whole start of things. So when I look back, I see that everything that I've done, and that includes, I spent 20 years as a DJ. I spent time behind the microphone. Now here I am, talking on the microphone on an almost daily basis, doing interviews, and I have my own radio show. So everything that I have done has prepared me for doing now.
Yeah, so it's like it's almost like you got slow played into all this. Like the universe was kind of telling you, like, oh, okay, we're gonna make you a DJ for a while because you don't realize what you're gonna be doing later, but you're gonna need these mic skills. That's pretty fascinating. Were you raised in a religious family?
Came from a Mennonite religion. In Manitoba, we have what's called the Bible Belt, which is out in the country. If you're not going to church, there's something wrong with you and you need an exorcism. So I was raised in that community, let's say. My mother was the youngest of 17 kids. My dad was one of 12 kids. Yeah, you live in that area. You raise farm kids to farm and that type of thing. Everybody went to church and everybody prayed and everybody did everything according to what the Bible said. At an early age, I just felt so uncomfortable with it. And everybody would look at me and say, "What's wrong with you, Chris? Don't you want to go to church today?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And being back, I realized that form of man-made religion just wasn't going to resonate with me, and now I'm a practicing spiritualist, quite happy not to be stuck in that man-made religion.
Yeah, so it seems like you found your thing that works for you and fits you and makes you comfortable. Like there is something to be said about that uncomfortableness that happens inside of a church. I mean, I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school for 12 years, and it just never. I mean, there were moments where I'm not gonna sit here and lie and act like there weren't moments where I didn't feel like I was having a religious moment or a religious experience in church. But for the most part, overall, especially after I got into my teenage years, it just seemed like I was a square peg getting shoved into a round hole inside there. And so it is fascinating to think these journeys that we go on as people, trying to find something. And I mean, I think we'd all be lying if even the most ardent atheist would be lying if they said they didn't want answers of some kind. So you come from this very religious background, huge family. Well, I have a big family, but not that big. That's incredible. 29 aunts and uncles. That's pretty. The little kid in my brain is like, oh man, I could imagine like my birthday or Christmas, like potentially would have been awesome. But that's if. But I do get the farm life a little bit too. More hands on the farm equals easier to take care of it. Whether you want to call this new age or outside the box of what normal people immediately go to when they think of healing. I think most people would just default go to, I have to see my doctor, because they have their medical degree and stuff like that. Do you think there's a change happening? Do you sense that when more people are open to this?
There certainly is. There's this whole phenomenon, let's call it, of the fifth dimension ascension process, which is humanity going into a higher level of consciousness. So let's call it an awakening. And I've had people call me up and say, wow, I was just listening to this YouTube video and I was listening to this guy on the radio and wow, boy, does it ever strike home with me. I'm really interested about it and I want to know more about what you do. So people are awakening to it. And I think people have been awakening for a long time, but just haven't heard the right person talking about it or explaining it, because when you listen to a lot of the information that's out there, it's very flowery, very unicorn and rainbows coming out of your yap when you're talking about it. And nobody would ever really explain it in a way that you could wrap your head around it and kind of understand it. And that's what I like to do with what I'm doing, is explain it in certain ways so that people can understand it and say, you know what, I think I know what this guy's talking about, and I think I want to pursue some type of work like this. 4 years ago, when a good friend of mine said, Chris, we have to get you on internet radio, and I says, nobody listens to that garbage. Wow. Lo and behold, the advent of blog talk radio and all these different internet streaming services has really opened the door for people to talk about this stuff. Because you listen on mainstream radio, you're not going to hear none of this. I have a good friend who works at a mainstream radio station in Winnipeg, and I says, hey, Richard, do you want to have me on your show? He goes, no, we don't talk about that stuff on this show.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important, that aspect of it. When I think of YouTube, specifically when you get into, you have to do not much, but a tiny bit of digging, and then you can get, it's almost like you walk through a different door on YouTube. And now this whole other world has opened up, of the paranormal, of the mystical, of the like quantum healing and dimensional jumping. It almost reminds me of like those bar scenes in like Star Wars, where it's like you have to kind of know where this is, and then it's like, oh my God, look at all of these interesting creatures, if you want to call them that for this metaphor, that are hanging out here. This is where I need to be. And you can find a lot of important stuff, and I think to stay out of the mainstream is important, to not get funneled into the the filter system in that kind of way. It is pretty cool though, like that nowadays we can get that. And whenever you touch on something very important, and that's like the that real flowery language, and it's almost like the more difficult it is to understand someone talk, I think they think it gives them credibility as being more intelligent maybe. And that reminds me of old doctor speak, or like if you're at the hospital and they're like, oh, we've got this and blah, 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 and you're like, well, can you, and it's in TV shows, it's like, oh, can you translate that into, normal English that a person can understand? Well, okay, what it means is you're dying, or something like that, right? So it's like that is happening here in this world to a degree as well. I'll try to watch some YouTube videos, and like 6 minutes in, I'll just be like, I don't understand what you're saying. You just did like 12 4-syllable words in a row, and I'm gone. I can't follow. So I think it is important, and it seems that you do a great job in like breaking it down and making it, like you said, being able to wrap your brain around it. Is that like a conscious decision that you've made?
I think it's not so much a conscious decision. It's just that I don't know a lot of big words. Ultimately, I think it is. That's how he started. I saw a pattern happening where I was describing things differently than most other people were. And some people commented on it. I thought, okay, we're going to stick with this. I'm going to talk to you on the same level as you. And anybody who wants to talk over your head, just turn off the mic and go sit down. I don't need to make myself sound smart. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help you with your health problem and help you to understand what's going on. Because ultimately, if your consciousness can understand this and grasp it, it's going to work. If I'm telling you I'm doing blah, 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 and you're like, well, okay, go ahead, you don't know what's happening. If I explain it to you in layman terms the best I can, you're going to say, okay, I think I know what you're talking about. It's resonating with me. Let's do it.
Okay, so what you're saying here kind of is that the person understanding what's happening is almost as important as what is happening.
The better connected you can be with a client, the better connected you can be with somebody needing some help, the better it's going to work. Somebody calls and says, Chris, I've got diabetes and I've got sore knees and migraine headaches. Please help me. And this person is putting their trust in you. So you need to come forward in a way that they're going to be feeling comfortable working with. By talking on their level is the absolute way to do it. Tell a joke now and then. Break the ice. Don't sound like some jarhead with their head in a textbook trying to make himself sound smart.
Yeah, and it's fascinating too, because just from the outset, when it comes to, if you want to say, a patient-healer relationship, it's the balance of power just naturally is a little uneven, because you have someone coming who has to be vulnerable and talking about there's something wrong with me, and just admitting that, even if it's something beyond your control, does have a powerless feeling to it, I think for most of us, and a very high level of vulnerability. So being able to ease that person, I think, does a great job of balancing that relationship, at least in that power way, so where you're on the same level more than just language. It's also you're kind of on the same level as people, like, okay, here, let's it's okay. We all have problems. We all have things. And so I think that's very important. You've got all kinds of modalities that you've studied in. I don't think we're definitely not going to have time to cover them all, but I do want to talk specifically about, I want to get into dowsing a little bit, because for people who don't understand what that is, because I've been trying to study up on that recently and learn more about it, specifically like the pendulum dowsing, because I got a pendulum not too long ago. It was a gift from friends, and I'm very fascinated by the whole pendulum world as well. Can you kind of lay out dowsing for us and what you do?
Is ancient. It's something that people have done for thousands of years to determine an answer. Midwives would use a pendulum to see if it's a boy or a girl when somebody's going to give birth. And what I do with a pendulum is I use a set of charts that I've developed, and they're all semicircle charts with slots in them, and they have words. When you're using a pendulum, the only way you're going to get an answer is to ask a question. So if you ask the right question, you're going to get the right answer. That's how the universe works. It's very riddled. If you ask the wrong question, well, you're not going to get the answer that you need. So I have a set of questions that I will ask. What question is optimal to help this person with their health problem? And that question might be, where is the lowest level of vitality? Where is the most congestion? Where is the most resistance? Where is an entity? Whatever. And when I start asking the questions, it starts leading me to different charts, where the master chart will say to work in the digestive system, and then the digestive system charts will say work in the liver. And then when I pinpoint that area I need to work in with the pendulum, then I'll ask about stressors, which could be viruses, bacteria, parasites, negative energies, electromagnetic fields, chemtrails, whatever you can imagine is in these charts. It will show me what the problem is. So another part of the dowsing where I use a letter chart from A to Z, and it'll spell words out for me. Just as a lot of people will channel or do mediumship work, where they'll close their eyes and focus, and they'll get messages or thoughts coming in from spirit. Mine is all done through my pendulum, and it'll just spell things out. It'll spell out sentences, and it'll give me direction. And it's very, very accurate for the most part. Sometimes you have to start over again and go through the jumble. Sometimes it gets a little jumbled up, but ultimately it leads you on a really good direction, and it certainly cuts to the chase when it comes to finding what the health problem is. And quite often the universal knowledge base is sitting right there with you, and it'll take from that knowledge base and it'll tell you things that you've never even dreamed of. It'll tell you things that nobody ever knows anything about that you need to work on within this person to help them.
So that sounds really cool. What's the source, or is there? Have you been able to pinpoint where, like, what is behind the spelling? Like, let's the pendulum is pointing to letters and spelling out. Is there something that you can say, oh, it comes from this, or it is this that is guiding the pendulum?
When I started doing this, of course, everybody wants to know who your guides are, who's swinging the pendulum. And, a lot of people say, well, it's your subconscious doing it. It's this doing it. It's your higher self. And what I'm working with right now is source energy, source creator, source love and light. That's where I'm getting a lot of my information from. Used to be a guy named John. Used to be somebody named Dr. Funk. I had all different kinds of characters come in. Serious, and they all help me along the way. And the higher you go with this, the more you do it, you go upgrade, just like going to school. Okay, now you're in grade 1, 2, 3, now you're in college, now you've graduated, now you speak with the main guy. So I'm working directly with source. It's coming straight from God, and people will say, well, why don't you ask God why he let 9/11 happen? Well, it doesn't work that way. Okay, you're asking questions of the universe. God, source, love and light is basically a consciousness that when you ask a question, you get an answer back. God's just not going to come in and do things on his own. You need to ask permission. You need to say, I need help with this. And he'll say, okay, ask and ye shall receive. That's the way it works. Asking the right question is very important. The right focus is very important. I had a lady call me from Australia and say, my back is extremely sore. Can you help me? I did 2 sessions with her, and she says, well, when are you going to find the cancer? I says, well, you didn't tell me you had cancer. How am I supposed to find it? You don't tell. There has to be a trade of information. We're not psychics here. We're working in these realms that we can get answers. The correlation of conversation has to be of a level where information is traded. We're able to have the right information to ask the right question with the right intent. There are a lot of people who might be working with a dark source, which means their answers they're getting may be very misleading. So it's very important to learn what you're working with, who you're working with. The whole system behind it is very important. So asking question after question after question, wearing these things down and getting the right answer is really what you have to do, and that's what I've done.
Cool, that sounds great. I also could see the guy asking about, like, why did ask God why did he let 9/11 happen and that kind of thing. Also being the same type of person is like, oh, you can ask this thing anything, like ask him when the McRib's coming back to McDonald's. Like there's you definitely open yourself up to an element of people that are they're more than skeptical, they're aggressive in trying to tear down things they don't understand, and that's just the way they are reacting for whatever reason. But okay, so we've got the dowsing thing is your method, and you've developed kind of your own system for that. So is that what you start with when people come to you?
What I'll start with is just asking what they want to work on, and we create a focus. I've got sore knees, I've got migraine headaches, I've got diarrhea, and whatever. So you put everything in perspective. You ask some questions. How long has it been there? Did you damage anything? Did you hurt anything? Sometimes the words they use to describe it are very important. So we'll create a focus. And then I'll just start asking questions with my pendulum. What's the first thing I need to do with this person? Align the chakras, some grounding, whatever needs to be done to make this person viable to work on. And then just start asking questions. What's causing the illness? What's the stressor within this person's body? Then we get answers. And then what we do is we get these answers. You need to do something with the answers. I'll use sacred geometry instruments. I use pyramids. Pyramid I use is called a Vesica Pisces. You can Google it and find a picture of it. It's a very well-known geometry in the universe. And what the Vesica Pisces does is it facilitates the feminine energy that is now in the planet. So it raises things to a fifth dimensional level to work at that level. So what I do is I just take this pyramid. If I'm working on the phone with you, I'll just hold it up to the telephone and I'll give intent. And the intent is to remove the virus or the stressor from this person's liver. At a frequency level, it just neutralizes the frequency. So the frequency of whatever is there is no longer involved. It's gone. And if you hit the nail right on the head with dowsing the answer, if a person has pain in their liver or their knee or their headache, almost instantly the headache is gone. Almost instantly the pain in the knee is gone.
Well, that's pretty cool. The idea that, the sacred geometry too, I know on your website, if people click on the product section too, they can see a bunch of cool stuff. The thing that really jumped out to me were the bracelets or the wristbands.
Yes.
That look really awesome. Okay, so hypothetically, I come in, I contact you, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? My name's Ryan. I've had this cough for a month. And I'm trying to figure out why I can't get rid of it. You would douse and figure out specifically like the stressor that's causing the cough, and then use
Correct.
the Vesica Pisces, and then to neutralize the stressor using the frequency of it. And sometimes, like you said, like that cough may just immediately be gone, and then sometimes it might take a little more work.
Every health problem that doesn't seem to want to go away has many different layers and levels to it. So there's going to be some negative components to it. If you have a cough, you may have a problem in the throat chakra. So we'll need to clean out the throat chakra. And then we might have to look in the aura. There might be some kind of emotional or mental or some kind of dark energy problem in the aura causing the problem. Sometimes people feel as if there's something that is choking them, and there will actually be some kind of entity with their hands around your throat in an energy body, let's say the metaphysical body or the holographic body, actually with their hands around your throat. It does happen, and you just remove these energies, keep peeling them away, and you get to a physical component, which could be a fungus or a bacteria or scar tissue or something like that. So you do multiple clearings on a certain area to clean it up, and all of a sudden things feel different. Most people would comment that they feel lighter, that an energy's been taken off, a weight's been taken off. And those are all signs that energies have been moved. People will say, I feel lighter, I feel like I can stand taller, I can breathe better. There's a lot of different feelings, a lot of different sensations that go through a person's body when you're doing this energy healing. Most people will say, I feel a tingle in my fingers, I feel a tingle in my torso. And that's the quantum energy going in and making adjustments and neutralizing all of these frequencies.
Before we get into maybe talking a little more specifically about the process of harnessing this power or the healing itself, do you find that there is risk involved as the practitioner or the healer? Specifically, when I'm not talking about like fungus, I mean, because not everyone who comes to you has an entity with their hands around their neck, I'm guessing. I think on your some of the talks I've listened to you give in interviews and some of the things on your website, you make it clear that not everything is like an alien inhabiting your body.
Right.
Sometimes you're just physically sick, and I'm not here to try to guide you into everything that you're experiencing that is painful is it's an alien in your body. But in those situations where there's say an entity with its hands around the person's neck that makes it difficult to breathe, is there risk as the healer going in and trying to remove this?
There certainly is risk. That's a really good question, Ryan. Now, let's say a third of my clients are people who do healing work, and they don't do it properly, and they end up getting sick themselves, and I got to clear them out. Now, what I always really, really stress is that to use the tools, use the pyramids, use all of the tools. And I use tools from a company called Crystalline Incorporated in Alberta, Canada. I'm a distributor for them. These things are amazing. What these tools do is they take the brunt of the energy. And when you take that energy and you give it direction, some people will send it into a flame. Some people will dispose of it to the angels. What I do is I just send it into the etheric realm and let God deal with it. That's what I do. You have to put it somewhere. A lot of people will remove an entity or something, and they don't send it somewhere. So now what's that thing going to do? It's going to go into the next person available to them, which is you. So these things will jump you. They will get in, and I practice certain things on a daily basis to make sure that my energy is clean and clear. I've been doing this going on 9 years, and there's maybe been twice where I got hit, but I got hit really hard. These things were going to get me no matter what I did, and I was able to clear them out and start to function again. Possibility of getting hit yourself, getting infected by these dark energies is very big, and it is a problem.
Okay, let's talk about one of those times you got hit, if you don't mind, because I am curious to know if you heal yourself or do you have a go-to healer that you can count on in a situation like that?
I have not yet found somebody that I can trust, only because certain healers may carry certain dark energies. There are some healers who think that they're doing really good, but they're actually transferring dark energy through themselves. I've seen that before. I do work on myself. It is possible. A lot of people will say, well, you can't work on yourself. It is harder to do when you're working on yourself because your frequency, your vibration is harmonized. So whenever I work on anybody, my vibration is always higher than theirs, so it's easier to knock out. So I'm always matching my own vibration. But if there is something in my body at a lower vibration, it's not that difficult to get rid of. 4 weeks ago, my family was out at a resort, and there was a skating rink. You know, I live in Canada. We go skating. So me and my son, we put on our skates and we go skating. And I stopped, and I just stopped and looked. All of a sudden, my feet went out from under me. Now, I played hockey for a long, long time. I know how to skate. I'm no slouch. And I landed on my right wrist, bent it back as far as I could without breaking it, and I jammed my shoulder. Now, this is the arm that I use for dowsing. This is the arm that I use on a daily basis to help people. And what better way to take out the guy healing you than to not let him use his dowsing arm? So I got hit, and it was basically some jinn, some spirits that are here to make life rough for everyone. And they decided to pull out my skates, and down I went. My father-in-law looked at me, he says, "You okay?" I says, "Leave me alone for 5 minutes. I need to get over this pain." But eventually I did work on myself, and things got better. It's still a little sore. Those things do happen. And a lot of people, when they're under attack, accidents will happen very, very frequently. Lots of car accidents, lots of slips and falls. Falling down the stairs is not uncommon when these things are trying to take you out or trying to lower your vibration. If you're somebody who is very accident prone, always tripping, always stubbing their toe, always doing something weird, that there is some kind of psychic attack or spiritual attack coming your way.
Yeah, it's not just that you're clumsy necessarily,
No.
Or have horrible balance. So what are some of the things you do to kind of keep yourself protected and, you know, kind of keep yourself clear on a daily basis?
There are certain tools that I use within myself. One is called a neutralization ring, which pulls off negative energies that might attach to your aura. Your aura is kind of sticky like flypaper. And when you walk by somebody who's got some negative energies, they'll attach onto you. You're watching the news, or you're watching something on TV that's negative, or listening to something negative. That negative vibration will stick to you. What this ring does is, on a daily basis, it cleans off your aura, cleans off your energy so that things can't sink in and become a problem. So I clean myself off all the time. Every time I work with somebody, I clean myself off, make sure that these negative energies don't attach on.
When you clean yourself off, is it like a combination of like meditation, or it's with the energy ring? Now, is this the one that has, like, when I draw a sun, I draw a circle and it has lines coming out from the outside of it, pointed outwards? Is this the one that kind of looks like a sun with inverted rays coming from it, like pointing inside?
That one pulls off negative energies. And if anybody wants to check it out, you go into my YouTube channel, and you look for a video called Distance Healing, and I use that ring within the video, and you can actually feel the energy coming off it. I use it as an example, and you can actually feel the energy. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to. I don't think I saw that video. I'm gonna have to definitely check it out. Your YouTube is just youtube.com/Chris Kehler, right?
That's it. Yeah. Plain and
Okay,
simple.
cool. Okay, so you've been hit a couple times. I am curious to know too. When it comes to, it always fascinates me when I'm talking to people who are, have really gone further down this path than, like, say, someone like myself. And really gone for it, and they're really into this, and they're really doing the work. At what point, or how do you maintain your, sanity's not the right word, because it's definitely not the right word, but you know how it is, like, there's that song, like, I am a rock, I am an island by Simon and Garfunkel, but, I mean, if we're all honest, none of us are a rock or an island. I know I face it in my career in stand-up comedy a lot, where it's like you just have to, you can only tell yourself for so long that you're on the right path. I mean, every once in a while we need some outside validation, potentially, but to maintain focus and to maintain belief and stability in these things that are on the fringe of what mainstream society considers to be tomfoolery or quackery and things like this. What are some of the things you focus on to really keep yourself grounded and understand that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and it's valid and it works?
I get asked that question a lot, and basically I just remember back to before I was doing this work, what kind of person I was. I was a real fun person. I like to joke around, have a bunch of beers, and kick back with the guys and do things. Now, I'm still a fun guy. To keep grounded, I got myself a wife, I got remarried, and I got 2 kids. 2-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. Let me tell you, that keeps you grounded when you're 54 years old. Okay, that's grounding enough. I remember my roots, and I play in a rock band. I play drums in a rock band, a punk rock band of all things, and all these guys are half my age. I'm doing things that separate me. I keep a distance between the healer and Chris, the guy. And I think that's the important thing, is that you said it best, staying grounded. Because when you're doing this work, a lot of people can get very carried away and lost in the dimensional aspect of the whole thing, and they become out of their body. And, they become the person who speaks of unicorns and clouds and rainbows. Those people are very nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to squash anybody, but I think staying grounded and remaining a human being is very, very critical when you're doing this kind of work, so you can stay in that concept with your client. You can stay level-headed with them. You can talk to them without getting overboard with the whole thing. And I think it is very important to stay grounded. When you leave work, I leave work. I'll answer some emails at home, but I won't work at home. Work on my family at home, and that's about it. But when I leave the office, I leave the office.
I think that is important to find that balance. I mean, I guess we need balance in everything. I know sometimes when I imagine, like, let's say I'm imagining in my mind someone who's like very advanced in their study and their pursuit of chaos magic, or someone who's very advanced in their tarot card readings. Those people aren't spending every waking moment doing that stuff. I mean, even a chaos magician has to eat dinner and, maybe have a date or with a man or a woman or something. Who knows? But so that is interesting, and I guess important to keep in mind, I think, if you're anybody doing anything to a certain degree. Now let's get into maybe a little bit of the nuts and bolts of how the healing happens, if we can. Is there, I'm sorry to cut you off, but is there a specific moment in time when you realized, like an aha moment, like, I'm tapping into something that I now understand and I can explain more clearly?
happens a lot. Almost every day I'm brought something new information about what I need to know for that specific person at that specific time. For instance, today, I think a lot of people have seen the videos from Howard Kautzvella about a certain phenomenon of an ancient energy called the black goo. What I do is I cherry pick. I'll listen to these videos, stumble upon something, and I'll take certain words or certain concepts and put them within my charts. I just take some white out and white out a word and write a new one in. And if it comes up, I remove it from a person. But the black goo concept, a lot of people have been talking about it. Black goo, Morgellons, these are the new age, let's say, of problems that are out there. Chemtrails. What happens is it'll be in my charts and it'll never come up. And I'll think, well, maybe this doesn't really exist. But all of a sudden today, I was working on somebody and I asked a question, and it spelled out that there was a black toxic substance within the person's chakras, within their cells. And I thought, whoa, this is different. So I asked them to elaborate, and it said black goo. And I thought, okay, we can now work on black goo, because when there are shifting of energies within the planet, it takes the veils away from all of these things, and it's an artificial intelligence that is controlling it. So once the artificial intelligence is lifted from whatever it is, you can now go after it. So there's epiphanies happening every day about all different things, and it does lead you to the whole concept of why is a person sick. My biggest question has always been, why is there major illness, chronic illness like MS, cerebral palsy, ALS, and so forth, and I'm really trying to get to the nuts and bolts of what those all are. So the epiphanies happen on a daily, weekly basis. Every weekend it's like I can't wait for Monday to see what is brought to me on Monday.
Well, that's a good place to be in when you're looking forward to Monday. A lot of people aren't necessarily looking forward to Monday. I know I look forward to Monday because typically Monday and Tuesday, those are kind of like, as a stand-up comedian, that's like your weekend. But so it is interesting. I've read some testimonials that are on your website too, and specifically about the aunt, and talking about the nephew that was in the hospital. And with the concussion symptoms and things like that, and it's a pretty moving testimony. So it's got to feel good to be able to help people in a real way. I wonder, when it comes to accessing these I'm going to call them abilities to do this, is there, I don't know, do you find yourself limited in any kind of way that, you have said that you have progressed, like, whether it was, John and then Dr. Funk and now the Source. I also wonder if there's ever been a situation where you've been like, okay, I need the whole team together for this one, because this is a big one.
I do have clients who, no matter what I do, nothing happens. And then, any other healer may say, well, this person is not ready to be healed. To that, I say BS, because if their person is coming to you for help, they're ready to be healed. That the whole concept is finding out what the problem is. And it could be something that we don't know about yet. It could be a different entity. It could be a different type of energy. It could be an energy body that need to work in that we don't know about. That's when you start asking the questions, and then you get the little epiphanies of look here, look there, try this one, try that one. As of late, I started working in a body called the metaphysical body, which when we manifest as a human, things manifest in that metaphysical body, and then they go into the physical body. So that's something that's new. That's not taught in any Reiki or quantum touch or any other courses. You were told about the causal body and the emotional body. Well, I work in a lot of different areas that have relevance. The holographic body, for instance, is very important. So it's a matter of figuring it out. And of course, we're given tests every day. Let's see if you can figure this one out. And that does happen. All of a sudden, we stumble upon one little door, and it's about taking the right key, putting it in the right door, turning it left or right to see if that door opens. And that door opens, then you go to another level. So there are times when I'm like, come on already, here I am trying to help this person, and you're giving me a test? I don't think this is fair, but No, we all have to go through all of these procedures in order to learn, in order to realize what humanity is really about and why we're here and why this is happening. And again, if the artificial intelligence isn't taken off of that stressor yet, we can't work on it. It's off limit. So when the energies are changing, when there's an eclipse, when there is an earthquake, when there is an alignment of planets, when there's a solstice, all these things culminate together to create an energy shift to raise the vibration of the planet and of humanity, to take off these veils, to remove this artificial intelligence so that we can find it and see it.
Let's talk about that holographic body you mentioned. Just the sound of it. I think it was probably years ago. One of the first books I read that really really ignited my interest was a book called The Holographic Universe. I think his name is Michael Talbot, who wrote it. Unfortunately, I think he's passed away more than a few years ago. But the concept, and then ever since that moment, I've been I've been very fascinated with holograms and the way that the world that we perceive, and how holograms contain all of the information of the whole and the smallest part of it, and other things like that. But what is this holographic body you're talking about?
Let's call it an energy body. Let's call it a possibility of where a problem can exist. Now, many people may have seen on YouTube holographic images that look extremely real. And this is all technology that the governments have, that special ops have, to shine a holographic image in the sky, and it could look real. So they could be a spaceship, a flying saucer, of a hologram of one, and we'd think it's real. It's been said that we are living in a hologram. This is all just a hologram. We're not really here. It's a hologram. And to me, I say, you know what? I'm knocking myself on the head. It hurts. This ain't a hologram. This is solid stuff. But if something is occurring in your energy field at a holographic level, then that's the level you have to work at, is removing the holographic image, the holographic projection of whatever it is. It's just another level, another area to work in, another consideration.
Now, do some of these things come from, are they carried over, let's say, from past lives? Is that a possibility in some of the things you work in, trying to remove things that have, it's almost like people are continuing through these different reincarnations, and then they just accumulate more and more baggage along the way. Is that something you ever encounter?
It does happen once in a while. The poor past life body certainly gets a beating. A lot of people blame it on a past life. Oh, it happened in a past life. It's bad karma. It does exist. It is there, but I don't think it's as big as a problem as people make it out to be doing this type of work. I rarely go into a past life. Now, I might go into a time stamp, which means going into the time matrix of the person. Now, our soul is basically a record, a time record of all of the lives that we've had. So I work more in the soul than I do within a past life. So your soul may have brought over certain energies that need to be cleared out. The past life thing, not as going as deep as it is going into the soul. I have looked at past lives of people, and sometimes it explains something, that in a past life, all the person's past lives, they were a witch. In this life, they're trying to do something good, and they're getting backlash for it from the motorcycle gang that they're a member of. I don't know. That could explain some things, why things are going the way they are.
Okay, interesting. So when going into the soul and kind of doing the work in there, so there's definitely a correlation between, like, especially when it comes to, when it comes down to it, what you're trying to do is you're trying to heal someone. So in what they believe to be they're experiencing maybe physical pain, and at times it can be not rooted physically. So you can, in the soul, doing that work, find out maybe, because if everything is in fact connected, and our physical bodies are manifestations, or just kind of these shells we're using to, move around and have these physical experiences, it makes sense that, that some of the causes will be in there. Like, I could take a hammer and break my computer, and now I can't type. That seems like it's easier to fix than, let's say, there's a fatal error or something, a virus inside my hard drive. that's going to be a little more difficult. So I have to now I have to have someone who knows more about that and can get in there and dig around and figure out what file is causing that problem. Is that what going into the soul is kind of about?
Kind of, sort of. Generally, when there's a problem with the soul, it's in a lower dimension of energy, first or second dimensions. There's also some dark, demonic attachments. Lucifer is always there. Sometimes the God realm is there. A lot of witchcraft, tons and tons of witchcraft, spells and curses can be within the soul. Now, when you look at the soul, people with depression, it's a soul problem. There's a disconnect between the person and their soul, a disconnect between the soul and the well of souls, and then a disconnect between the well of souls and source. The little boy that I treated with the testimonial on my website, he had a concussion. What I did, and that's when I learned first about the soul, is to reconnect the person to their soul. The next day he was perfect. He was there. The soul is a lot of things that we don't understand. A lot of people think it's our personality, which, there is, of course, a little bit of that in there, but the soul is really so much more than just a spiritual connection. There's a lot of other connections and a lot of other possibilities along with it.
Is there a typical, I don't know, not a typical, but is there like an average time frame when it comes to reconnecting someone to their soul?
Oh, it takes seconds. First of all, you clear it out, find all the dark energy in there, clear it out, reconnect it, and boom, it's done. It's really that easy if you know how to do it. If you have the right guidance to do it properly, it can be that easy.
So when it comes to the actual healing part of the correct, let me see if I got it. I'm just going to try to give a summary pretty quickly. I mean, an hour has gone by much faster than I anticipated here, because we're already at that time. You've got a person who comes to you, they've got a problem. You do the dowsing, you figure it out, you figure out specifically what's happening, and then you move into the actual healing part of the process. Now, I don't think we really, or at least in my mind, I haven't figured out, so once that is happening, and then what happens after that when you get into the actual healing of it?
Then you take the energy tools, the sacred geometry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Somebody's in my office, I hold it over their heads, and by saying the words, I'm stating an intent. What I'm doing is I'm manifesting the healing to happen by saying the words. Okay, that's my intent. As humans, we have the ability to manifest things. Whatever we want, we can manifest it. We can manifest misery. We can manifest joy. We can manifest healings, whatever you want. Manifest a beer if you want to. It can be done. Stating those intents to change the vibration within the person's body of a negative one, to take out the negative vibration. And the words that you are saying are the vibration of what it is in there. So by saying it, it goes away. It's gone.
Okay, cool. So this is what makes it possible to be able to do these things via the phone or Skype if someone would rather wants to do it that way, or through video. And like you said on your YouTube video, you can feel the energy of that with the neutralization ring that you were talking about earlier. Okay, so that makes sense to me. This seems like something that, I don't know how many little kids are running around at 6 years old in their room talking to their friends, saying, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a quantum energy healer." I don't know if they even know what that is yet, but I think we will maybe reach a day when, little kids might be running around saying that. That's pretty fascinating to me.
In Germany, there's a lot of hospitals that have one floor is homeopathy, the other floor is Reiki, and the third floor is people who do dowsing. That it is happening. Australia has got a lot of it in their hospitals. They call it complementary medicine, where they do this type of alternative stuff. You're not going to see it in the States. You're not going to see it in Canada. That's just too far out of the box for us. Other countries, it is there. It is part of the whole process of the medical system.
Yeah, and it seems like they get it a little ahead of the curve. I have heard of, and it's extremely rare, but I have heard of, I think there's at least one or two hospitals somewhere in the country, in the United States anyway, that I think they have, I don't know if they call it sympathetic medicine. I'm trying to remember the exact name. I wish I could recall exactly what it was. But it's a very experimental, maybe there's a section of one of the floors. It's definitely not like they've got, like, it's definitely not like you just described, where they have a whole floor of homeopathy and then Reiki and then more and dowsing. So, hopefully maybe at some point, I think we are headed that direction, and I hope we get there sooner than later, for people's sake, to be able to kind of get off of all of these prescription pills and the like. But dude, I think this was I want to wrap this up just because typically they go about an hour, but I feel like there's a lot more I want to talk to you about when it specifically comes. I mean, I didn't even get into talking about the Saturn stuff, and there's so much stuff that I want to talk to you about, including the alien aspect of this all. And so hopefully we can do another talk at some point here in the near future. I think that'd be great.
No problem.
Okay, that'd be great too, because who knows. Maybe by the next time we talk, I'll if I still have I got sick and had this little cough. I had a cough, and then it's just kind of still hanging around. Maybe by the next time we talk, if that's still happening, maybe we can try to do a give an example of a healing session, if you don't mind. Just to see, so people can kind of get a more clear understanding of what happens when they're in there doing it.
That would not be a problem.
Okay, awesome, dude. Let's plug some stuff for you. It's chriskehler.net is the website. Last name is spelled Kehler. So that's chriskehler.net. Is there anything else you want to? Let's plug your radio show.
Oh, yes. Every second Wednesday on pyramid1network.com. My show is called A Quantum View, and we do, much like you, just talk with people who are into the alternative things. We shoot the stuff, okay? Yeah,
definitely. I've listened to some excerpts and of many of those interviews, and dude, you're really easy to talk to. You're a fun guy. I love your attitude. I love the approach you're taking when it comes to. I think it is very important for me, and I think you would agree, maintaining a sense of humor about ourselves is the most important aspect in being able to communicate our beliefs and to make people more open to understanding and listening and just being on the same level with people. So I can really dig that. I really dig your approach and the way you're doing it.
Groovy, man.
And and we'll have to definitely do this again. Are you on Twitter?
I do have a Twitter. I don't know what the heck Twitter's all about.
Okay.
What is this? What is this thing called Twitter?
Okay. We won't worry about. We won't really worry about plugging that.
I'm on Facebook. I do use Facebook quite a bit, but Twitter just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know.
Okay. So if you want to,
talking to me, I don't know.
Yeah, if you want to connect with Chris, maybe you're interested in having a healing session, go to chriskehler.net. That's probably the best way to get a hold of him. And all the info is there. And check out those bracelet or those wristbands. Oh, man, on the product section. Those are really cool. And, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Many blessings. Thank you, Ryan.
Okay, take care.